What's up everybody, Cody here with FinGear. Today, as you can tell by the title of this video, we are talking about rod holders. Now these are all available on their website. If you're looking to get any of these, you can go to www.fingear.com to pick up a couple of these if you're looking to get your boat outfitted with some awesome rod holders. Now before we get started on these rod holders, definitely go down and hit that subscribe button down below. That way you guys can stay up to date with all the products that we have here at FinGear. We post a lot of reviews of the products. We post a lot of how-tos on these products too as well. If you're really trying to figure out if this is a product that would work for you, or trying to figure out how to use the products that we have here at FinGear. Now the rod holders that we're going to be talking about today are very versatile. Again, all of the rod holders that we're going to be talking about can be mounted onto your track. Now these are all standard sizes. They will fit in pretty much every track out there on the market. And then we also have rail mounts. These rail mounts are super adaptable. We have two different sizes that are going to be very universal, allowing you to put them in your boat depending on what you have. Obviously there are a couple of different rail sizes out there, so be sure that you're picking the correct size for your rail. That way you can properly get these attached to your rail if that's where you're going to be putting them. But we're going to go ahead and start off with the Cradle style rod holder. But we have had the opportunity to use these walleye fishing, especially out on Lake Erie. What I like to do with these is actually have them on the front of my boat. And what we're doing is we're running some down rods on these, we're running bottom bouncers on these right off the front of the boat. And I like to mount these directly to my rails up front. I have a ZV-20 that I'm actually mounting these rod holders to. And again, they're very versatile. So I can pull the pin on the rod holder itself, and then I can lower the angle, and then vice versa. I can also pull it back and rotate the rod holder up if I was going to be using this as a set of rod holders on the back of the boat. The sizes of bases that you can get range from a 2-inch to 4-inch to 8-inch to 12-inch to 16-inch and 20-inch base sizes. So you can really stagger these on the back of your boat if you don't have angled gunnels, or you're just looking to have different height options available for these. Again, that's going to be available on the website. Another neat thing with the Cradle style rod holders and some of the other rod holders here on the website too as well is we do have numbers on the bases of these rod holders. And what that allows you to do is actually rotate these numbers to basically set your setback numbers on the rod holder itself. That way you don't ever forget what your setback was on that rod. So if you got a big spread out and you don't want to have to always remember what that setback number was, you can simply turn these to that setback. That way if you're catching lots of fish, you don't have to remember that, and you can simply take a look before setting that line back out. You're going to have two little thumb screws on the bottom of the base that's going to allow you to tighten this to your track or that rail mount, making this a very stout option if you're going to be fishing for some big water fish like we are out here on the Great Lakes. These are very stout rod holders and are going to hold up to a lot of different species of fish. So again, this is the Cradle style rod holder, very easy and versatile to use. One of the available options on FinGear's website. The other option that is available on the website are the tube style rod holders. Now you can notice this is going to look very similar to the Cradle style rod holder. The only difference is obviously the tube, but again, fully adjustable. You're going to be able to pull this and rotate it 360 degrees. And then there's also going to be a pin on here that's going to allow you to fold the rod holder back and forth, adjusting that angle. The base heights are going to be available in that 2, 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20-inch options, making it very easy to stagger these rod holders as well, along with the Cradle style rod holders if you were going to run both. These are the rod holders that I like to run in the back of the boat, simply because when you are putting the rod into the holder itself, the rod butt isn't going to be sticking into the boat. It's going to be inside of the tube, kind of tucked away, just giving you a little more space in the back of the boat. So that is one of the bigger reasons why I like to run these rod tubes in the back. Again, very stout option. These are going to hold up to a lot of the species that we're fishing in the Great Lakes, and it's just a very great option. Mounts directly to your track or those rail mounts the same exact way with the thumb screws, and also has the setback numbers on the base of this as well. And last but not least, one of my favorite options, this is something that I love running in the boat simply because it takes up the least amount of space on your tracks, allowing me to get other stuff on the tracks as well. And when I'm out on the Great Lakes doing some guiding, trying to be sure that I'm taking up the least amount of room on my tracks for other things like graph mounts, pole holders, tool mounts, stuff like that, is having these rod trees. Now this is a 3-tiered rod tree from FinGear. Obviously you can see these are just the tube style rod holders. Again, just making it very spacious by keeping the butts of the rods in the tubes themselves all the way up this tree. Now the thing that I like about this rod tree is it does have the 360-degree rotating option on the base there. So I can actually pick this rod tube up and rotate it on the track. That is actually spring loaded and is gonna lock in after you pull it down and rotate it. You'll kind of hear it lock right back in. But having that option on the boat or on the track is super convenient. You know, if I were to have to kind of rotate this again to just kind of pull my rod tubes to the other side if need be, depending on my setup on the tracks. Another neat thing is this is basically a hollow core construction that is going to make this rod holder pretty lightweight, especially for the components that you're going to have on these rod trees. Again, they're built very durable, but the last thing that you want is a big bulky rod holder that you're going to be putting onto your tracks, and this just isn't that. Having that hollow core construction, there's still a little bit of weight to these obviously with the components, but again, it's not super heavy and is just going to be a nice lightweight option for a rod tree built like this. The rod tubes on the tree are very versatile. You can move the angle of these back and forth very easily just by pulling out on the pin on these, again, all the way up and down the rod tree itself. The mounting options on the rod trees are, again, very similar to the single rod holders. You can mount this directly to your track. The nice thing is you really only need a 6-inch piece of track to get this mounted to the boat itself. You can use a rail mount on these. These thumb screws actually will fit into the rail mounts that we have here at FinGear. However, if you are going to be mounting these to a rail, just be sure that the rails are going to be durable enough to hold the weight of the rod tree. Obviously, the rod tree itself isn't always necessarily going to be the problem, but once you start putting some rods in here and these things get loaded up, there is a little bit of torque that gets put on these rod trees, and you want to be sure that your rails are durable enough to hold that. So just do a little bit of research, make sure that you have the correct setup, and you're definitely going to love these rod trees if you can get them on your boat. Again, they take up less space, allowing you to keep those rods offset to reduce tangles, especially in rough water. So those are the rod holder options available at FinGear. Again, if you're looking to get your boat outfitted, definitely check out our website. We have 3 great options, from the cradle style, the tube holders, and then again, the rod trees. If you are looking, they do have some small packages as well that will get you outfitted, whether you need tracks and rod holders too as well. They have some packages available on the website. These rod holders are all available as single rod holders as well. So definitely check them out at www.fingear.com. They're great durable rod holders that'll help keep you organized out on the water.